Today I'm back looking at my 2006 Nissan Altima, trying to figure out the emissions problems. I've already removed the backstream sensor, which the P0420 error apparently is related to. I also removed the extension that I added to try to help the situation. It didn't seem to do much. Today we're going to try something different. I'm going to use this small can that was tomato sauce at one time, but small can that is perfect size to enclose the sensor, as you can see. I'm not going to be using this anymore because the goal of this is to increase the operating temperature of the sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this can and I'm going to drill a hole in the dead center of this. Then also going to drill 2 holes in the bottom here so I can attach it to the exhaust with baling wire, stainless steel baling wire type stuff. And then I'm going to cut a slit from the hole all the way down so that I can get the wire in there. So also considering drilling a big enough hole for the connector to fit through. I might do that. I haven't decided yet. But either a slit or a big enough hole. I don't think the hole size will matter since I'm going to be stuffing it with steel wool. So first I got to prepare the can so that I can enclose the exhaust oxygen sensor, the downstream oxygen sensor. So the idea is the steel wool will keep this from rattling a lot and also trap the heat in there. It will help store the heat. And if all goes as planned, this temperature will be measuring a hotter temperature such that it kind of maybe will be tricking the system, thinking that the oxygen levels are lower, and that will help the computer pass emissions. That's the theory. So let me get started on this. So here's an update of where I'm going with this. I've drilled the biggest hole that I could with what I have on hand. So I'm not going to be able to make the hole big enough for the connector of the O2 sensor to go through that. But that's okay. So what I'll do is I'll cut a slit in there, but as you can see I added 2 holes there and there on opposite sides of the can so that when I do finalize this, if it does work, I'm going to strap it down so that this doesn't rattle around a lot. So next thing I'm going to do is take a cutting wheel and cut a slit right all the way down like that, and that's going to be wide enough so that the wire can slip in there. And then I will install on the car with this wrapped around with the steel wool wrapped around the oxygen sensor. I'm calling it an oxygen sensor. We'll call it the downstream sensor. And then I'll stuff the can on top of that. And I'm not going to secure it for the initial test because it doesn't matter. I'm not going to drive the car. This is just to see if the concept is going to work. And after it looks like it's going to work, then I'll fasten it down. So I'll be back. Where I ended up with this, I cut the slit down the side there like that, and I will twist the can to make room for the wire, and I'll set that wire in there. Well, actually I'll install this first, the oxygen sensor into the exhaust system. Then I'm going to wrap it with the stainless steel, or steel wool, not stainless steel, steel wool, and then I'll finagle this can around it, and I'll make sure that there's enough steel wool to fill up most of the space so this doesn't move around much. And then I'm going to start it up and see what happens. I will take a picture underneath there to show how I have it mounted before I start the car. So I've got the oxygen sensor installed. Sorry about the angle here because I'm on my back here. But I just took the steel wool and wrapped it around there as best it could, kind of squishing it together there, make it kind of fluffy. And now I'm going to put the can over that. I might have to put more stainless steel, or not stainless steel, steel wool. But I'm going to try that first and let's see how it goes. So I've got the can on there now, and you'll notice it's just loosely held. If this works well, I'll go ahead and secure it with these little holes that I drilled and just put some stainless steel. Now that is stainless steel wire, and just wrap it around the exhaust here and keep that from moving and keep it tight. Could even put some metal tape around it if you wanted to keep it closed. Now this is loose, but it's going to be fine because the stainless steel is going to trap the heat. That's why I'm putting that in there. I could stuff more in there, but I'm going to try this and see how it goes. So anyway, the idea is trap the heat inside the can which heats up the sensor, which should improve the reading. Now, I am concerned that this sensor seemed to be dead the last time I tested this. The voltage didn't change from 0.28 volts, and that's indicative, or an indication, of, I should say, of that sensor maybe having died. Let's test it and see what happens. Okay, just started the engine, and again, the downstream sensor is measuring 0.28 volts. I'm concerned that may be correct now, but when it heats up, when the engine heats up, that voltage doesn't change. My understanding is it's supposed to go up to like 0.5, 0.45, 0.5 volts, something like that. And the last time we did the test, this did not change. So I'm wondering if that sensor hasn't died or if some other problem exists. Kind of think it's a sensor though, because I've had this problem before, and replacing the sensor fixes it. And I've got another sensor. I've got a TRQ sensor I could always put back in, and if this one decides it's dead. So short term, first of all, long-term trims are 0, right? So I didn't need to clear it. We're already good to go. Short terms are starting off at 3.1%. With the engine being cold, that doesn't mean much. That's my understanding. So we're just going to let this thing idle for a while, get up to temperature, and we'll see where these numbers go. I'll be back. All right, engine temperature is up to 145 degrees. The downstream sensor voltage has increased to 0.29, so that's promising. So maybe the sensor isn't dead after all. Upstream sensor is still 0.295, not changing much. Actually, neither one's changing much, but it's still early in this process. So I'll be back again. All right, so the engine temperature is up to 162. Backstream sensor is up more than before. So it looks like the idea of the can catching the heat is working. So, but the question is that going to keep it in the lambda range, or whatever they call it, the happy Goldilocks range that it needs in order to pass emissions? Short-term trim is higher than I'd like to see, but that number again does not matter until we get the engine fully heated, which would be like 190 degrees. So, yeah, the downstream sensor, higher voltage, that to me indicates the can is doing its job. I'll be back. All right, engine temperature is up to 181 now. The O2 backstream sensor is at 0.4, 0.39, bouncing around a little bit. Sensor 1 upstream is at 0.29. Short terms at 7.8%. So I don't know. I think the downstream sensor seems to be operating reasonably. I mean, all I've got is the voltage. I don't know what other things I can measure, or I would be able to measure with better tools. This is just the blue driver dongle that I'm using. It's pretty good, I mean, for what it is. But of course, it's not going to be any dealer level scan tool. If I had that, then I'd probably be able to isolate the problem, you know, dead on. But I'm a poor boy and I have to get by with what I have. So anyway, the short-term trims, I don't like it. They're still too high. I don't think this is going to work. But I haven't driven the car yet, so I need to get it down on the ground and drive it some and see if it's going to throw the P0420 or the P2800. I don't think we're going to see the P2800 again, though. I think that was an intake leak that's been fixed. We are now dealing with changing out parts because I couldn't figure out the P2800. And so it is what it is. All right, I'll be back. All right, I still haven't driven this car, but I've been sitting here kind of revving the engine, and I'm seeing activity on both sensors. Whether it's correct or not, I don't know. Engine temperature's up to close to 200 degrees now. The bank 2 sensor voltage blanks out every once in a while. I don't know what that means. But right now it's averaging about 0.55, 0.54 volts, something like that. Sensor 1 still pretty steady at 0.29. I don't know what's correct. I mean, of course, when I was revving the engine, you can see it spiked there. It's graphing it and showing the spikes. Idling at 700, very steady. Perfect there. Short-term fuel trim's above 10, so that's a problem. That is a problem. Let's check and see if there's any error codes. Let's just do a smog check. And scan. Okay, so there's no engine codes yet, but it's still early in the game. Still have the catalyst and evap system and oxygen sensor ready statuses needing to be obtained before this would pass emissions. Actually, just 2 of those 3 would need to be done. And no error codes. That's the problem I keep having. I keep getting a P0420. So, yeah. All right, I think it's time to drive it around. Let me shut down here. So, drove this around the neighborhood a few times, put a couple miles on it, I guess. Still no errors. But the trims are high. It's over like 15%. Let me see if I can get back to that. There we go. So the short-term trim's at 21. So why is that so high and it's not causing the P420 error? I don't know. I'm gonna take it for a little bit longer drive and let's see what happens. So I just got through driving this car around and I checked the errors and I do have P420 again. So the can that I added to the rear sensor is not fixing the problem. The numbers are weird. It's bouncing around like crazy. The voltages on that rear sensor are going between 0.1 and 0.8, bouncing around back and forth, and then it just kind of stabilizes for no reason. I don't understand what's going on with this. I don't know if it's the sensor or the computer or the wiring. I just don't know. And also the short-term trims are always above 10%. Let me see if I can go back. I guess I'll clear the code. Doesn't really matter. All right, so let's go back to live data. Let's see where the numbers are. All right, so we're at 14, 16, 10, 16. So the short-term trims are bouncing all over the place. The voltage on the O2, now watch that. See, it's going 0.1, 0.8. 0.1, 0.8. Why? Why is it doing that? I mean, look at that sawtooth graph that it's generating. Why is it doing that? It just seems so wrong. If anybody has any idea what the hell's going on, please let me know. I don't understand. I may put the TRQ sensor back in and see what it does at this point. But that's it for this video, man. Thanks for watching.